Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Peak. And how's everybody doing? We're in October now. Halloween is just around the corner. Ooh la la, am I excited? Not because it's Halloween, but because I'm looking forward to the temperature cooling down. I've had enough of these hot days. It's been kind of depressing. It's been so hot. So it is nice that the temperature is going down. We're once again watching another hurricane sweep across Florida, and that will be happening probably next weekend. So we'll have our eyes peeled, looking to see what's going to happen. Being here in South Carolina, it's one of those things we're constantly looking at. And I know everybody's sick and tired about hurricanes. I'm tired of it too, man. I mean, the 10th of September is supposed to be the peak of the season, which means you still got a little while left of this crap happening. So yeah, we're still watching it. We're still keeping an eye on it. I was looking at it this morning, and it looks like it's going to strengthen to maybe a 4 before it hits the coast, the western coast of Florida. And then it looks like it's going to take a direct shot straight across the Magic Kingdom. Boo. Um, I'm hoping they hoping they strap down everything and make sure it doesn't fly away. I mean, of course, you can't really build there without anticipating that something like this is going to happen. So I am more than positive that everybody's using tie down straps. And when they're done, they're saying, "Yep, that's not going anywhere." I mean, that's how you tell that it's not going to go anywhere. Is you have to actually say that out loud. It's kind of a rule. I don't make the rules. I'm just saying that's what you're supposed to do. So, and it's worked for me so far. I mean, every time I've strapped something down, I go, "That's not going anywhere," and it's done pretty good. So we're gonna stick with that and just keep motoring along. Um, I got to watch some interesting college football yesterday. I don't know if anybody else is watching college football right now, but there were some upsets. The biggest being that Alabama got upset by Vanderbilt. Now, growing up, I've always seen Alabama as a powerhouse kind of team. And then it took a little bit of a slump for a while. And then Nick Saban went there and they went on a tear of just winning everything over and over and over again. And under Nick Saban's reign, they would have never allowed someone like Vanderbilt, those smart kids out of Tennessee, to ever compete on the field of football with them. But boy, they sure did yesterday. I think the final was 40-35. Pretty impressive. I didn't get to watch the whole game. I was too busy watching the Gamecocks lose. I'm a big South Carolina Gamecocks fan, and they just got manhandled all game long by Ole Miss. And why did I watch the whole thing and not switch it over? I don't know. I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. Um, the optimism inside of me is very strong, and I kept going. Maybe they'll turn it around. You never know. They're only three touchdowns, four touchdowns behind. Five. Well, it's all. Yeah, it just got worse and worse. Um, so yeah, Vanderbilt, huge win for them. That's the first time they've ever defeated a number one ranked football team in the FBS system. And yeah, good for them. That's really awesome. It's going to make playing them even tougher for us because we are not that good. And apparently they're good enough to beat Alabama. So Alabama just got off a huge win of beating Georgia the week before. And there was a lot of people, even Saban was talking about it, in game day, saying that he felt that, it's harder to come off a big win like that because your emotions are high, you're overconfident. It's easier for Georgia to come off a loss and then go, okay, we know what we did wrong. We know how to regroup. But when everything goes right and you pull off a victory like that, it's really hard to rebound. And of course, we see what we saw yesterday. I don't know if anybody's doing online gambling or whatever, but I heard out loud something said yesterday to the point of, well, there goes my parlay card. And someone else said, yep, mine too. Because nobody in the right mind would have picked Vanderbilt unless you went to Vanderbilt and you were very optimistic like me, um, you know, pulling for Gamecocks. Anyway, that being said, big kudos to them. There's a lot of upsets, like I said. I can't recall all of them off the top of my head right now because this is not a sports podcast. This is stuff I heard. Now, let me tell you about some stuff I heard. So I've heard a lot of stuff that may or may not be true. And I may or may not have said anything in regards to that because this is stuff I heard and not stuff I know or stuff that's factual or stuff that's real or I never once call myself the evening news or news in general. I just talk about stuff I heard. Okay. Now, with that being said, some of it may not be true. You have to take that with a grain of salt, just like you do the people who claim to be the news. Sometimes they're taking the information they have as fact and it's not fact, and they find out later. So, whatever I said last week, I don't know what I said. Just do your own research, find your own answers, and go from there. How about that? Yeah. So let's talk about some stuff I did hear. Okay, some good stuff. I watched some really cool TV this past week. Right off the top of my head, the what is it? The Lord of the Rings, the beginning. I don't know what they're calling it. What do they call the thing on Amazon that's like the before the Lord of the Rings? Amazon Lord of Rings show. What's it called? Rings of Power. Ooh, that does sound like tough, right? Rings of Power. Power. Like you're supposed to say it with one of those deep voices, like you're the sand thing in Aladdin that opens up the where the genie is. Welcome to the Rings of Power. Yeah, kind of cool. Anyway, the Rings of Power. Rings of Power. Um, cool show. Okay, I've said this before. This is I don't know how many seasons we're in now, season 2 or whatever. Really good show. I'm amazed at how impressive, not just the special effects. I mean, you kind of expect the special effects to be there, but it's on point. Like there's giants and there's trees that are moving and talking and stuff, and it doesn't look fakey fake. Like it looks pretty natural. And some of the magic that's used in it doesn't look like it's fakey fake. It doesn't have that same vibe as it did like 20 years ago. Um, they really spent some budget making all of this look very seamless. And more importantly, I'm impressed with the acting. Now, I know this sounds silly because this is like a fantasy kind of world and whatnot. Everybody is selling it. Like everybody is into their part, even if you're what they call the Harfoots, which is, the little people, or the guy who's going to be Gandalf eventually. Everybody's doing their part and acting their role perfectly. I mean, even the guys that are orcs or trolls or whatever you call them, all of them are doing their parts really well. And it's not like overly dramatic. It's not like, oh, this is unbelievable. There's no way. We know it's not believable. Okay, it is fantasy. It is from the mind of Tolkien. But man, I am really impressed with how well they did it. Um, Kudos to everybody in charge of that. All of the people who are doing the writing and the acting and the special effects and the stunt work and set designs, costume designs, they should be winning all the awards because this show is just that good. This season is just leaps and bounds ahead of what it was season 1. Season 1, it was like me and my buddies got together. I'm like, I got an idea for a show, and everybody's like, okay. I'm what character again? Okay, well, no, turn the camera on. Sure, I'll do the part. I'm really serious. No, I can do it without laughing. Can do it again. Do it again. Like it's one of those kind of things. Season 2 is just like, all right, we are swinging for the fences, baby, and they did. They really did. You got to learn who a lot of characters are. You got to see them evolve. You got to see epic fights and battles and magic being used and crazy stories of whatever you can imagine they're doing. It's just fantastic. Um, you get to see Sauron claiming himself as the Lord of the Rings, and then other people deeming him as such because he created these rings in a way. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of people with a lot of names. It's hard to remember them all, but I'm super impressed with the show. Okay. Now, with that being said, I'm also watching Agatha All Along on Disney Plus. I'm loving it. It's great. It gives you the good holiday vibes of Halloween. Um, they're really going strong with this Witches Road song, which is it was really cool the first time. Third episode in and them doing it again, I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this every episode. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the show, but you're kind of overdoing it with the singing the song over and over and over again. But maybe that's part of the show. I don't know. I'll go along with it. Listen, I poo pooed on WandaVision up until the final couple of episodes, and then I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I get it. Okay. Sometimes these things are done to help the viewer figure it out just like you're supposed to. And I'm just dumb enough to go along with it and figure it out with everybody else because that's just how my brain is wired. So I'm here for it. I'm going to watch it. New episodes are coming out every Wednesday night. Yeah, I'm digging it. Now, there was a new season or a new show, I should say, that my Netflix kept telling me this is the show you want to watch, and I was like, you don't know me. Turns out they do. It's a romantic comedy. It's called Nobody Wants This. It stars Adam Brody and Kristen Bell. Surprise performances from this guy named Timothy Simons and Justine Lupe. I'm impressed with everybody. Okay. But stealing the show, you can't take your eyes off Adam Brody. And of course, Kristen Bell, kind of commands the screen. 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's 10 episodes long. They're only like half an hour, but minus that if you consider the credits. Um, it's great. I love it. She doesn't want to fall for this guy, and she does. And turns out he's a rabbi, and she's not Jewish. And there's a whole thing with him wanting to be like the head rabbi, and she isn't that. She isn't part of that faith. She isn't part of that religion. Doesn't necessarily want to be. And it's one of those things of, what do you do? Do you follow your heart? Do you change everything about yourself to follow your heart, or do you stay true to yourself and then try to figure it out along the way? What is the answer? And it reminds me a lot of the answers that we all ask ourselves, right? As we grow up, we think we know what we want or what we're going to do. And then life cans you curveballs and you go, okay, well, maybe I had this all wrong. And you sort of redirect and refocus. And sometimes when you redirect and refocus, the people who are closest to you call you out on it. Your brother, your sister, your family members, whoever, your best friend, they realize the things that you're doing and tell you, hey, listen, you're too close to this. You don't realize what's really right in front of you. And sometimes the problem is you. Sometimes the problem is somebody else. Sometimes the problem is just a problem. But it does help to have community around you to bounce ideas off of and to bounce um, big, heavy decisions off of. Because yeah, sometimes you're the problem. Um, yeah. So anyway, I like this show. I like the characters. I hope they do more of this. I'm here for it. This could have been a movie, and we would have watched a 2.5 hour movie. No, they would have done it in 90 minutes, and you would have been like, "God, this felt rushed," and it would have been. This story needs to be a show, just like this. This is 10 episodes. They're half hour long. So what is that? 5 hours? 5 hours ish. We'll say 4.5 if you take out the credits. Okay, 4.5 hours. And we're just getting to where there's a major plot thing that they got to overcome. So this is a show. And to me, this is what people want. This is what they want. They don't want a buttoned up movie. I mean, unless it's like Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise is, jumping off of a mountain on a motorcycle kind of thing. In which case, make it 3 hours. Okay. But this is what we want. We want an episodic thing. We want a show that's going to be, how do they overcome this? This is a problem I never thought of before. This is a thing that seems similar to something that's a friend of mine has gone through, or I've gone through, or whatever. And you get to see them work it out. I have a tiny, gnat in here. Why do I have a tiny gnat here? Mr. Tiny Gnat, would you like to be on the podcast? Why are you buzzing around my microphone? He doesn't sound like he wants to like talk, but anyway. So yeah, go watch Nobody Wants This. It's on Netflix. I think you'll love it. And if you don't, okay, well, I do. So there you go. What else? There's something else. No, I think that's it. I've had a I've had a fun ordeal working on the Jeep this past week, if anybody cares. Yeah, I mean, you're not exactly telling me no, so I'm just going to keep talking about it. I was having a starter issue. I didn't exactly know what it was. Went to crank the Jeep, and it was giving me trouble. And of course, my first instinct is it's got to be a starter, right? Get away from me, Nat. It's got to be a starter. So I replaced the starter, and that wasn't it. Now, I could be the kind of person that's like, well, that didn't work. Let me take this back and get my old starter and put it back on it. No, you got a new starter. Just be happy with the new starter and move on to the next thing, because you're eventually going to figure out what it is. And that being the knee jerk reaction of it's the starter leads you to other things of, okay, well, it can't be that. It's got to be something else. And that's what I did. I kind of went on the YouTube cycle and looked up what could be an issue with a 2016 JK Jeep Wrangler. And it said that it could be a relay. the relay is a tiny little thing. It's about the size of my thumb. It's, rectangular-ish. It has four prongs on it. And I looked up the exact one it was. Turns out Amazon sells them. You can buy one for like $8.99, or you can buy two for $11.99. I was like, all right, let me just get two, because I mean, at that price, you might as well get a second one to have on backup in case one of the other relays goes bad, because they're all the same relays. So I got that, and then it could have been the wire. There's a wire that connects to the starter that is either the positive or the negative. I don't know. I'm going to guess it's the positive connection because it has a little pigtail that's plastic. They make them all out of plastic now. It's plastic and it has a little red tab on the back, and you're supposed to, pull the red tab to pull the thing off. Well, when we went to change the starter, that little piece had kind of disintegrated. I don't know if it melted or just years of, pulling behind a vehicle just got to it, and the plastic itself had disintegrated to nothing. So it couldn't lock into place. So there was always that thought in my head of, I'm not making firm connection with my wires to the starter. So this is probably the real culprit. Now, when you look on Amazon for that little part, you punch in like starter wire, starter cable, all kinds of combinations of things until you find out that they use the word pigtail, because that's what it's called. The little connector is called a pigtail. Pigtail wire harness is basically what it is. But again, you got to look through which ones, because there's something wrong with the algorithm looking for that stuff. It wants to bring up 40 different kinds of pigtails that go to different things around the vehicle. And you can't just get it by putting in starter. I don't know why. So anyway, when I first looked it up, it kept wanting to show me one that looked similar, but it went to a Chevy Silverado. I was like, that's not it. Found the one it went to. Wanted to make sure on Amazon it said, this is for the Jeep Wrangler. This is the years it's for. That way, if it didn't work, I can return it and say, you said it worked. That's not it. If I got the one that was for the Silverado, even though it looks similar, there might be some small difference, some little piece of plastic that wasn't in the right place, or the size was different or something. And then I'd be like, I'm returning this piece because it didn't fit my Jeep. But it's for a Silverado. I know, but it looked similar. See, if I was in a hurry, I would have bought that one, and it probably would have been a mistake. Or it's the same stupid thing. They just didn't label it as such. So whoever's labeling that stuff for Amazon, do better. Make the algorithm work better, just a little bit better. That's all I'm asking. Anyway, that piece was $8.99. So you figure for $20, I got two pieces that could fix the thing. I had a little time today. I jumped under there, replaced the relay first, went to crank it. Was still kind of acting up, and I was like, well, let's go ahead and do this wire just to be sure. Crawl underneath there, replace the wire, easy peasy. Made a little video. Matter of fact, I even got a YouTube video up if anybody wants to watch it. It's pretty good. Got it all plugged back up, turned the key, cranked, and I think I'm fixed now. So I'm going to call it done. So I feel good because I learned something. I feel really good because I got to share my experience with other people. And that way, if they're going through the same thing, they can figure out how to fix it too. Because ultimately, that's what I think this is all for. This podcast, the YouTube, everything. I think it's so that we can learn from each other. And if we make mistakes, we can own up to them and be like, hey, I made a mistake. Or you can go, okay, I figured out how not to do that. Here's how I did figure it out how to do that. I mean, that's kind of what we're all doing in life, right? I heard it said a long time ago, you can either learn to help people or hurt people. And I kind of want to help people. So maybe this will help somebody. So if you're out there and you've got a Jeep and you're like, oh, I'm having problems with my starter, hopefully you'll look it up on YouTube and you'll find my little video and it might help. If it don't, I'm sorry, it might be something else, but hopefully it'll help. So, and if you find a better way, let me know. Also, I need to ask the internet, because right now the internet's listening. I know that you're out there right now and you're like, what? We've been waiting, Josh. What do you have? You can say you heard it here. Okay. Who has experience moving old movies onto digital files? Let me explain. I have some old movies that we shot with a 8mm Handycam, like a Sony Handycam. And I've done some research on YouTube enough to know that you should be able to put it through what they call an encoder, with the use of an adapter that has a capture card attached to it that connects to a USB. Now, I have bought that piece. That piece was like $12. It's not very expensive. And I've hooked it up, and I was able to watch the home movies on my computer, which was kind of nifty. But the encoder portion that's supposed to record that and save it is not exactly user friendly. The iMac that I have has an OSB built into it, which is supposed to be online service broadcast or something like that. Online studio broadcast. I don't know what the OSB stands for. It's something like that, something to do with studio. But it's not user friendly. Now they make encoders out there called like Streamlabs and other versions of that you have to pay like a subscription, like I think it's like $30 a month to use it. And supposedly those are very intuitive and tell you drop this here, drop that there, we'll take care of you, heart hands. And I'm like, but $40 a month and I got no guarantee this will work. I don't know anybody that's using it. That's the thing. I feel like I'm trying to invent the wheel where out there in the internet there's a whole bunch of people making wheels, but I don't know anybody around here that makes wheels. So I need somebody that's been doing this to kind of reach out to me and tell me what you're using, how you're doing it. I did buy a movie converter encoder, whatever you want to call it, from Movi. Is that what it's called? MOV Movavi, Movavi video converter. And it was able to move over a few movies, but then it just quit working. And I was like, okay, for $89, this should not just quit working. But it's almost like after I did 3 videos or 3 discs, because I have a disc man as well, like a handy cam disc man. After I did 3 videos, it almost acted like it couldn't even see the videos anymore because it wouldn't recognize that the camera was plugged in. And I was like, okay, what just happened? What did I do different? And video after video I put in, I just couldn't get the thing to recognize. So if anybody out there is doing this stuff, please reach out to me and let me know what you figured out. And maybe I could get some help. I have scoured YouTube and I can't find anybody that's doing what I'm trying to do. If for no other reason, I want to be able to get these videos on my computer, chop them up, put them out there, even if it's on unlisted or private, just so I have them digitally on YouTube. And that way I can watch them whenever I want or share them with family members or whatever. You know what I mean? So anyway, yeah, hit me up if you're doing that. Let me know. We can learn from each other, hopefully. And with that, I am going to wrap this up. Thank you to everybody who's listening. Thank you to everybody who's watched. Appreciate it. Um, I'm always trying to figure out what to say or what to do on here, and all I can do is share what I know, what I do, what I know, what I've done, and what I'm into. And if that's you, that you dig it, then great. And if I'm wrong, sorry. If I'm right, great. If you want to be on this and talk about it, I mean, we can figure that out too. Yeah. But either way, I hope everybody is trying to be their best self. I hope everybody's trying to help everybody else. And I hope we all learn from one another. Okay. Y'all take care. Thanks for listening. And as always, cue the cow.
Cue the cow. Moo, baby.